If you're trying to break into product marketing, but you feel like you're hitting a wall, then I am here for you. And it's probably because you're making these avoidable mistakes. I'm Natalie. I'm a PMM with 7 years of product marketing experience, leading product launches that have generated 1.8 million and 202K in 30 days. And I help aspiring PMMs land their next or their first product marketing role, including an entry-level grad who landed her first product marketing role. In this video, I'm breaking down the most common pitfalls that I see aspiring PMMs make and giving you clear, practical tips to avoid each one. And this is not to pick on anyone. I genuinely want to see you succeed and land that product marketing role. So let's get ahead of these, okay? The biggest mistake that I see is thinking that product marketing is just like any other marketing function with the word product in front of it. They apply for product marketing roles, highlighting their demand generation experience, maybe their social media campaigns, or their content marketing wins. Now, product marketing is fundamentally so different. While traditional marketing focuses on generating demand and nurturing leads, product marketing is all about understanding your market, positioning your product, and enabling your sales and marketing teams to be successful. Also, we care a lot about bottom of the funnel metrics like sales opportunities created and revenue generated ultimately. Instead of talking about how many leads you generated or maybe talking about how many impressions you got on social media, talk about how you research your customers' needs, how you analyze competitive landscapes, or how you crafted messaging that resonated with specific buyer personas. If you don't have direct PMM experience, you can reframe your existing experience through a product marketing lens, which I talk about so much on my channel. So for example, instead of saying I increased email open rates by 25%, you could say I conducted A/B tests on email messaging to identify which value propositions resonated most with our target personas within certain industries, for example. And this resulted in a 25% improvement in engagement. Now go through your resume right now and identify a few, maybe 3 experiences that you can reframe to highlight either market research, competitive analysis, or cross-functional collaboration, which are huge and core competencies to product marketing. Next is aspiring PMMs apply to every product marketing role with the same generic approach, not realizing that PMM roles can be very dramatically different between companies and even within the same company. A PMM role at an early stage startup might have 70% competitive intelligence and go-to-market strategy, while a role at a larger enterprise company might have 70% sales enablement and product launches. So if you don't understand what the specific role requires, you can't position yourself effectively, right? Before applying to any PMM role, do your homework. Look at the job description carefully. Is this a technical PMM role requiring deep product knowledge? Is it focused on customer research and insights? Is it more about sales enablement and competitive positioning? Then look at the company stage. Early stage companies need PMMs who wear multiple hats and can build processes from scratch. Established companies tend to have PMMs who can optimize existing programs and work within established frameworks. I'll cover this a little bit more in detail later in this video. But for your next product marketing application, spend 30 minutes researching the company stage, their current product marketing team structure, and their recent product launches to understand what type of product marketer they really need at this stage in their growth or their development. All right, so this next mistake is not talked about enough, but hiring managers can be very specific depending on the type of company that you're applying for. Now, don't get me wrong, a smaller organization can still have incredibly unrealistic expectations for an entry-level PMM, for example, and I know this firsthand working with my clients. However, in my experience and working with my clients, if you're only applying for entry-level positions at big companies, and I'm talking about those FAANG companies like Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, even Salesforce, and you have no direct product marketing experience, it is very unlikely that you will get that position. And I'm not saying this to be harsh. I want you to save your time and be strategic. I want you to land that product marketing role sooner rather than later. In my experience, hiring managers at these companies are notoriously particular about who they bring on board. If you have no direct PMM experience, and even if you have a couple years of experience that you could maybe spin into product marketing experience, these are going to be really long shots for you. And I know it seems cool to work at these places because we all know their names, but we have to be realistic here. So my advice is apply to mid-size and smaller companies if you're new to product marketing or you have a limited number of years in a PMM role. Here's why. Smaller companies want someone scrappy, as I said earlier, someone who can, for better or for worse, wear many hats. In my experience, I started at smaller companies and I learned so much. I got to collaborate so much, so heavily, and I got to get so much done that I built up a solid resume because of all the things I was exposed to. So can I write an ebook? Yeah. Can I optimize onboarding email copy? You bet. Can I build out a product launch framework with a smaller team? Hell yeah, I can. So do yourself a favor and give yourself the best chance of landing a PMM role fast. Apply to jobs where hiring managers are more likely, and again, this is not guaranteed in this crazy job market, but they're more likely to give someone with potential, someone with scrappiness, someone with a great work ethic, strategic thinking, and a collaborative nature, more of a shot even without a ton of experience. Take my word for it. All right, so many aspiring PMMs focus heavily on the marketing part of product marketing, but completely ignore the customer research and market intelligence aspects of the role. And I am guilty of this in my early days in product marketing and interviewing. The best product marketers are customer obsessed. They spend significant amount of time talking with customers, analyzing user data, and understanding market dynamics. If you can't demonstrate that you understand your customers deeply, you're missing a core product marketing competency. So I would start doing customer research now, even in your current role. So set up informal interviews with customers, or informational interviews with customers, I should say. Analyze customer support tickets for common pain points. Create buyer personas based on actual data, not assumptions. And if you're in sales, you're already talking to customers day in and day out. So start documenting those insights. If you're in customer success, you have access to churn data and expansion opportunities. If you're in product, you have user behavior data. This week, conduct 3 customer conversations or analyze 3 pieces of customer data to identify one insight you didn't know before about your customers. Okay, this one really hurts my soul, but aspiring product marketers often can't clearly articulate their own value proposition, which is ironic since positioning and messaging is a core PMM skill. If you can't position yourself effectively, how can I trust you to position our product effectively? That is a common thing that hiring managers are thinking. So your resume, your cover letter, and interview responses are all examples of your positioning and messaging skills in action. So practice the fundamentals of positioning. Who's your target audience? What's your unique value proposition? What's your proof points? How do you differentiate from other candidates? So use the same framework that you would use for product positioning to position yourself. Instead of saying, I am a marketing professional with diverse experience, say, I am a customer-focused marketer who specializes in translating complex technical products into compelling value proposition for enterprise buyers. So you're going to write a 1-sentence value proposition for yourself as a PMM candidate. It should include your target role, your unique strength, and the outcome that you deliver. You're going to rewrite your LinkedIn headline using positioning principles and make it specific, outcome focused, and differentiated. And again, I think it's really important to just cover this one more time in the sense that when you're talking about positioning yourself as a better candidate for the role than other candidates, this isn't about you being arrogant or overly confident. This is about you highlighting the unique value that you bring to the role and what makes you more of a strategic hire than someone else. Be okay with talking yourself up a little bit to put yourself front and center and land that product marketing role. It's not about being arrogant. It's about being professionally confident in your skill set and what you bring to the table. Alrighty, so aspiring PMMs underestimate how much of product marketing is about working across different teams, cross-functional collaboration, sales, product marketing, and customer success, and sometimes even engineering. Product marketers are often called the glue between these different functions. And if you can't demonstrate that you can work effectively across different teams, especially teams with different priorities and communication styles, you're going to really struggle in a PMM role. And I have seen this quite a bit in my own experience. So you're going to identify examples from your current or past roles where you successfully collaborated across different functions. Maybe you worked with sales to create better demo materials. Maybe you worked with product to prioritize features based off of customer feedback. Or maybe too worked with customer success to create case studies. The key is to show that you can understand different perspectives. You can build a consensus and drive results even when you don't have direct authority over the people that you're working with. And this comes up a lot. How do you influence without authority? You'll hear that in product marketing. So it's really important to talk about this in your interviews. So an example that would be good to highlight sounds something like, I collaborated with our sales team to identify the top 3 objections prospects raised during demos. Then I worked with product to understand our different technical differentiators and created a competitive battle card that helped sales win 30% more deals against our main competitor. Now, saying something like I'm a team player who works well with others is not going to tell me anything about your actual collaboration skills. So write down 3 specific examples of cross-functional projects you've led or contributed to heavily, focusing on the process and the outcome. So bonus points if you can emphasize the word we and other teams in your wins. I hear this a lot, that hiring managers do have a preference for candidates that will talk about wins and results in the frame of we as a team. Oh, I see this next mistake a lot. So many aspiring PMMs get caught up in the tactical execution, the campaigns they've run, the content they've created, the events they might have managed, without demonstrating strategic thinking. Product marketing is fundamentally a strategic role. So yes, you'll execute those tactics, but the real value comes from your ability to understand the market dynamics, identify opportunities, and develop go-to-market strategies. So for every tactical example you share, connect it back to the strategic rationale. Don't just tell me you created a webinar series. Tell me why you chose webinars over other formats, how you selected the topics based off of customer research, how it fit into your broader content strategy. So practice thinking like a business owner or a general manager. I heard that a lot early in my career. What market trends are you observing? What opportunities do you see? How would you prioritize different initiatives based off of potential impact and resource requirements? So some strategic questions or strategic thinking questions you can ask yourself and come to the table with answers on your interviews can sound like, why did you choose this approach over other alternatives? Asking yourself, what data informed my decision on this product launch or this initiative? How did this fit into the broader business objectives? I talk about that time and time again on my channel. What would you do differently next time? That's definitely going to come up on your interviews. Tactical projects, maybe one tactical project from your experience, and write a strategic brief explaining the market context, the strategic rationale, and the business impact that it drove. I know. So this next one seems very repetitive from my other videos, but it's very common and you probably have seen this all over the internet. So sending the same generic resume and cover letter to every PMM role or every hiring manager, regardless of the company, industry, or specific requirements, is a common mistake I see. Product marketing is highly contextual. The PMM skills needed for a B2B SaaS company are very different from those needed for a consumer mobile app, for example, which are different from those needed for a hardware company. Generic applications show that you just don't understand this nuance. So research every company you apply to. I know you probably heard that a million times, but understand their product, their market, their competitors, and their recent challenges or opportunities. Then tailor your application to show how your background specifically prepares you for their unique situation. Look at their recent product launches, their competitive landscape, and their target customers. If they are expanding into new markets, highlight your market research experience. If they're fighting competitive battles, maybe it's a really crowded market, emphasize your competitive intelligence skills and your positioning skills. So a good example of tailoring sounds like, I noticed that XYZ company recently launched name product to compete with main competitor. In my current role, I have led similar competitive positioning projects where we successfully differentiated our product against similar competitor, resulting in a 40% win rate improvement in competitive deals. So before your next application, spend 1 hour researching the company's recent product announcements, competitive landscape, and job requirements. Write 3 sentences connecting your experience to their specific needs. Oh, this one hurts my soul too. So aspiring PMM PMMs often struggle to tell compelling stories about their experience, both in written applications and on interviews. Storytelling is a huge PMM skill. You need to be able to craft compelling narratives about your product, your customers, and your market. If you can't tell a good story about your own experience, how can you tell good stories about the products you'll be marketing? Learn the basic structure of a good storytelling framework. So context, challenge, action, results. You'll hear this in different formats everywhere. So don't just list what you did, explain why it mattered and the impact that it had. Practice presenting complex information in a simple, compelling way. Use specific numbers and concrete examples where you can and where it feels natural. So you can paint a picture that helps the interviewer understand not just what you accomplished, but why it was significant. So an example of a not so great storytelling of your experience might sound something like, I managed social media accounts and increased engagement. An example of good storytelling of your experience sounds a lot like, when I took over our social media accounts, engagement was declining and we weren't generating any qualified leads from social. I conducted an audit of our content and discovered our messaging was too product focused. I shifted our strategy to focus on customer success stories and common business outcomes our customers were trying to achieve. So over 6 months, we increased engagement by 150% and generated 25 qualified leads directly from social media. So you can see how even with something that's not generally considered the strongest example of product marketing work, like social media work, you can see how we're framing that experience from a product marketing lens. So we're talking about the context, we're talking about how we looked at the messaging, how we revised it to be focused on outcomes, we leverage customer research that we've done to be more effective and drive a real business result. So again, that shows how you can even take something that's not traditionally product marketing focused work, like owning social media, and applying a lens of product marketing to show that it is a way that you could be qualified for a product marketing role. So practice telling 3 different stories about your experience using the context, challenge, action, result framework. And shameless plug, here comes. If you join my PMM Accelerator program, I specifically work with you to frame your experience in a way that lands with the hiring manager. And if that sounds like something you need help with, check out the link in the description of this video to learn more about the program. Okay, let's keep going. And believe it or not, you could have all the right things to say, or even worse, the right experience to speak to. But if you are not confident when speaking or you have poor body language, even over Zoom interviews, it'll really hinder you from getting that PMM role. And I'm gonna break this down first by talking about lacking confidence when you speak. So this shows up when you use filler words constantly, like like, you know, or even really long pauses, or when you speak so quietly that the interviewer has to lean in to hear you. Another dead giveaway is when you turn every statement into a question by raising your voice at the end. I just did it there. Like, I have 5 years of experience in marketing, instead of confidently saying, I have 5 years of experience in marketing. And actually, quick story, when I was in sales, I had a good friend of mine who was amazing at sales, but she had this common problem of when she was on calls, she would do that inflection, that question at the end of her statements. And she was actually working with a linguistics coach to help her with this. And they said that by taking her arm and kind of like dropping it down at the end of her sentences as she was saying it was helping to reinforce her mind to think, okay, I need to go down in my tonality. So I know that if you're on a Zoom interview and it's virtual and they can see your video, probably not the best thing to do, but maybe you could do it, you know, on a phone call or something like that, a phone interview, just practicing, I have 5 years of experience in marketing, just dropping your hand to mimic the tonality in your voice. So the second mistake is poor body language, and this one hurts me so much because this includes avoiding eye contact, slouching in your chair, fidgeting with your hands or your phone, or even worse, just appearing distracted in general. Here's how to fix these issues. So for confident speaking, practice your answers out loud beforehand. Speak at a moderate pace and pause instead of using filler words. Nothing wrong with that. Declarative statements about your experience and skills. For body language, I just did it again, sorry, I am guilty of it as well. For body language, sit up straight with your shoulders back, Maintain good eye contact about 70% of the time. Don't freak out the hiring manager. Keep your hands visible and use purposeful gestures. Lean slightly forward to show engagement. Remember, confidence isn't about being arrogant, like I said earlier. It's about believing in your value and communicating it clearly. Okay, so here's the thing. Every single one of these mistakes is fixable, and I really want to emphasize that. You don't need to go back to school or get a completely different job. You just need to reframe your existing experience and fill in those key gaps. So for your next steps, let's break it down into not so overwhelming chunks. So first, you're going to pick 3 mistakes that resonated the most with you from this video. You're going to create an action plan to address each one over the next 30 days. Make it manageable. Just pick 3. Third, start applying these principles to your next product marketing application and/or your interview. Now, if you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe for more practical product marketing and just general career advice. And if you're serious about making this transition and you want one-on-one interview coaching and someone to review your portfolio, for example, optimize your resume and your LinkedIn, check out my program in the description of this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. Bye.